Have you ever stood in the ruins of your own life and wondered, what now? Have you stared at closed doors, shattered dreams, and painful losses, wondering where God was in the silence? You're not alone. Centuries ago, a man named Paul sat in chains, misunderstood, betrayed, beaten, and bleeding, not once, but often. He was no stranger to prisons or storms or rejection. Yet in the middle of a world that seemed like it was tearing apart at the seams, Paul wrote a line so bold, so strange, and so powerful that it still echoes through history, shaking hearts awake. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Romans 8 verse 28. Let that settle in. Not just in some things. Not only in good things. But in all things, even the bad things, the unfair things, the heartbreaking things. Somehow, God is at work behind the scenes, stitching something beautiful out of life's ugliest pieces. But how? How could Paul say this with such certainty? Let's step into his story for a moment. The man behind the verse. Before Paul was Paul, he was Saul, a zealous religious man with blood on his hands. He had watched Christians die. He had persecuted the church with holy fire in his veins, believing he was doing the will of God. Then, everything changed. On the road to Damascus, a light split the sky, and a voice called out to him, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" Acts 9 verse 4. That voice belonged to Jesus. It was a divine interruption. Saul the persecutor was transformed into Paul the apostle. But don't miss this, his calling didn't lead to comfort. It led to suffering, beatings, shipwrecks, hunger, betrayals, prison cells. And yet, Paul learned a mystery hidden from the world. God was not absent in the chaos. He was right in the center of it, working through every dark valley to fulfill a purpose greater than Paul could imagine. That's what gave birth to Romans 8 verse 28. Not theory, not comfort, not a motivational quote, but a battle-tested revelation. The hidden gear in the machine. Imagine a giant machine, massive and intricate, with thousands of spinning gears. Some move smoothly, others groan and grind. And then there's you, a small, broken gear that feels out of place. But here's the twist. God, the master engineer, sees the whole design. He knows exactly where your broken gear fits. He takes what the enemy meant for evil, and he retools it. He syncs it with a larger plan. And suddenly, even the things that should have stopped you, propel you. It doesn't always make sense when you're in it. Joseph in the Old Testament was betrayed by his brothers, thrown into a pit, sold as a slave, wrongly imprisoned for years. Where was God? At the end of it all, standing as Pharaoh's right hand, Joseph said something hauntingly similar to Romans 8 verse 28. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. Genesis 50 verse 20. That's the pattern. That's the secret. All things, not just the good days, but the betrayals, the loss, the delays, are raw materials in the hands of a sovereign God. But what about the pain? Some will say, that sounds beautiful, but what about those who never see the good in their lifetime? It's a fair question. And the answer is hidden in the second part of the verse. For those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. This verse is not a blanket promise for everyone. It's a covenant for those who have surrendered to God, who are walking according to His purpose, not just chasing their own plans. When your life is surrendered, even your suffering has meaning. The Apostle Peter was crucified upside down. James was beheaded. Stephen was stoned to death. Were their lives failures? No. Their stories lit the fire of the early church. Their blood became seeds. They may not have seen all the good with human eyes, but heaven saw it. And eternity will reveal what earth could not. Romans 8 verse 28 is not just about comfort. It's about confidence in the character of God. The divine puzzle. Here's a story. There was once a little girl watching her father put together a 1,000-piece puzzle. All she could see were the chaotic pieces, blurry colors and jagged edges. She didn't understand. Some pieces looked ugly and useless. But her father smiled. He knew the final picture. Every piece had its place, even the ones that didn't make sense on their own. That's how God works. He sees the finished picture of your life. You only see the piece you're holding. But one day, in this life or the next, you'll look back and realize that the piece you hated was the one that held the whole picture together. When the verse becomes real. There's a woman somewhere, right now, sitting in a hospital room, facing a diagnosis that's tearing her world apart. There's a man who just lost his job and feels like a failure to his family. There's a young person battling addiction, praying for change but feeling chained. To them, this verse may feel like a cruel joke. How could this possibly work for good? And yet, God is not finished writing the story. Sometimes, it takes time. Sometimes, it takes pain. Sometimes, the good doesn't look like success, it looks like strength. It looks like peace in the storm. It looks like chains falling off your heart, even if they stay on your hands. Romans 8 verse 28 is not a fairy tale, it's a war cry. It means the enemy can't write the final chapter. It means your tears are not wasted. It means the cross, the darkest moment in history, became the doorway to resurrection. The verse in you. So what does Romans 8 verse 28 mean for you, right now? It means that heartbreak you thought would break you, it's building something deeper in you. That failure you can't stop replaying, God can redeem it. That path you didn't choose, the one that hurt like hell, it may lead to your true calling. But only if you let God in. Only if you love Him, not just with words, but with trust. Only if you surrender your purpose and embrace His. The verse doesn't promise that everything will feel good. It promises that everything will be used for good. There's a difference. The final word. Romans 8 verse 28 is not just a verse to read. It's a truth to live. It's the lens that changes how you see your past. It's the anchor that holds you steady in the present. It's the torch that lights your way into the future. When you walk with God, there are no wasted seasons. No meaningless pain. No pointless detours. Only grace. Only purpose. Only a God who refuses to let your broken pieces stay broken. So if you're breathing, He's not done. If you're hurting, He's close. If you're lost, He's calling. And we know. Not think, not hope, not wish. We know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Let that be your anthem. Let that be your strength. Let that be the truth that makes sense of everything else. Because even when all things break, God still works all things together. And that changes everything. Make sure to subscribe and share this testimony to your loved ones. Thank